Drop it in the water, let the daughter find her image with the rest. She'll be learning how to breathe, spinning through identity, reveal another pretty little scheme. Save her mind, hold her hand.
Hi guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. So today I'm gonna be doing a sit down video with you guys on how to take on 2025 with an academic comeback, right? So I'm gonna be giving you guys some tips, giving you guys some advice on basically how to approach the new year 2025 with like an academic comeback, to help anyone who's actually in school. And yeah, so get a pen, get a notebook, because you need to take down some notes from what I'm about to say. So let's get straight into it. Okay, so let's begin with today's video. So basically this video is gonna be actually a few segments, right? There's gonna be a method of PPP that I'm gonna tell you guys. It's gonna be plan, prepare, and pass. And then we have a few points. These are just not random points, but like, yeah, well, they're not under specific topic, but just general points that I want you guys to take seriously. Yeah, that I'm gonna be giving you guys. And yeah, so I don't know how to structure it, but I'll see along the way how I'm gonna actually be structuring it. So the first thing, before like we get into the nitty-gritty parts of how you can get your academic comeback in 2025, I actually want to share that when it comes to academics, when it comes to anything in life, put God first. So from whatever that you wish for, whatever that you want to succeed in, such as academics, and you wanting to have an academic comeback, maybe 2024 wasn't your best year yet, or maybe it was good but you want to do your best, you want to unlock your full potential in 2025. I want you to put God first before anything else. Put God first before you study, before you write an exam. Pray, talk to God, trust God, and know that He's there with you. Know that God will never want anything bad to happen to you, basically. So I want you to be able to trust God, to be able to put God in front of your academics and know that He's there. Know that He's going to help you throughout everything. You talk to Him, you pray, you read your Bible, and you fully commit yourself and you fully commit your academics to God. You don't stress about academics because you know that what happens, what was supposed to happen will happen, what was not supposed to happen will not happen. And yeah, so I just wanted to basically just give you guys that and let you guys know that trust God, pray, give it all to Him, don't stress, don't fear about anything, right? To read your Bible and submit your academics to Him. So now that I was able to actually share what I think is what I think is the most important thing, let's get into it. So the first thing is gonna be actually a plan, prepare, pause, which I think a lot of you guys have heard. So I'm not sure if mine is gonna be like the same, like the general one that a lot of people say, a lot of people speak about, but I'm gonna start with the plan and then prepare and then you pause. So how do you plan? In terms of your academics, how do you prepare yourself, and then how do you pause? So the first thing, plan. The first thing we're gonna look at is plan. So when it comes to plan, I want you guys to take something that I don't think a lot of teenagers take seriously, a lot of scholars take seriously, is a study timetable. A study timetable is one of the best things that you can use to study. A study timetable. So I'm gonna make one and I'm gonna show you guys on the screen, right? So a study timetable can be the best thing that can help you to basically plan your way to passing, plan your way to an academic comeback. Because I know a lot of people basically just go study and tell themselves, oh, it's okay, today I'm going to study the subjects. You're not supposed to tell yourself for the whole term, or if you want to do it for the whole year. It depends on you. I feel like it depends on the type of person that you are. If you want to do a study timetable for the term, if you want to do a study timetable for the whole year, if you want to do a study timetable for the week. Yeah, so I feel like it's either you do it for the week, you do it for the term, or the month, or the whole year. Okay, I'm not sure about the whole year one, as for each term there are different requirements, so I definitely recommend every term. Yeah, so I definitely recommend every term. So a study timetable basically will be what you're going to be studying every day. So not only does it give you the freedom of not you having to stress about, okay, what am I going to start with, what am I going to do today, you immediately know on your study timetable. You just take out, it needs to be somewhere, somewhere where you're gonna actually be studying. Take out your study timetable. Today is Monday. What's the first subject? Okay, maths. Okay, I'm gonna study maths right now for this amount of time. The next subject, and that you need to have your the subject that you're going to be studying. You need to have how many subjects you're going to be studying in a day. That's up to you. If you are a person who doesn't deal with a lot of content in one day, you can do like 3 subjects a day. Come back from school, you do your 3 subjects a day. You need to have breaks in between. Obviously, it's all up to you. So the way that you do your study timetable will be basically up to you, but it's very, very important because it gives you the freedom of knowing what's okay. Now I'm going home and I'm going to study this, this, and this, and then I'm done. You don't have to stress about, okay, let me study this, let me study that. Study timetable is one of the best things that can help you to be able to plan for what you're going to be studying. You not only plan for what you're going to be studying. Let's say you're making a study timetable for the whole week, starting from Monday to Friday, then you knowing what's okay, I'm going to be studying maths. Let's say there's 5 days in a week, in a school week, Monday to Friday, right? So you're going to be studying every day, or whichever way works for you. And then you're going to be knowing for that specific week how much you're going to be studying maths. Let's say you're going to be studying maths on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and then Thursday and Friday you don't study maths. So then you're going to be able to actually plan that on Monday I'm going to be doing, on Tuesday, all of those things. I'm still going to get to like how you're going to be planning your topics, but that's also going to be helping. So the study timetable, have your study timetable, even though you don't know what topics, maybe you do your study timetable pretty early and you're not sure what topics are going to be learned, but you should be aware of what you're going to be studying every day for the week, for the term, or for the month. Right, so a study timetable is very, very important. The next thing that I want to show you guys is topics. I want to talk to you in terms of planning. So topics are very important. One of the things that you need to have most in your study timetable are your content filled are your content filled subjects. So if you're going to be studying a subject, like I know like a lot of people take LO as like a subject that's like, general knowledge, then you know that you're a person who doesn't really have to study that much content for LO. You can have LO appear a small number of times in your study timetable. But then if you're going to be doing subjects like physics, like life science, like pure maths, then okay, not pure maths because maths is like numbers, but when it comes to subjects like business studies, subjects that require a lot of notes, subjects that have a lot of topics, yes, that cover a lot of content, life science, business studies, those types of subjects that cover a lot of content, then you're gonna need to plan your topics. So for that entire term, you need to be aware of how many topics that you're gonna be needing for that specific term. You need to be aware of how many topics that you're gonna be that the teacher's gonna be covering. So it's very important for you to, because this is actually you planning now. What's okay, you need to know how many topics the teacher's gonna be covering. That, like if you're getting a textbook on that specific subject, you go, I'm not saying read the whole textbook, but you actually go on your index, you see how many topics for that specific term you're gonna be covering, and on each topic you count the number of topics, and then that can help you take the number of topics. So what you do is you take the number of topics, how many topics there are, you take the number of topics and you divide it by the number of days that are left until you start your exam. So you need to have an idea of when you start your exams, because I'm not wanting you to actually know the dates, because your school, depending on your school, but you need to actually know whereabouts. If you're in term 4, you know that probably mid-November or the beginning of November, June, all of the terms, you basically have an idea of when we're actually starting to write, and then how many days am I left with. It's very important for you to know how many days am I left with to actually study this whole content. I'm going to take business studies for an example. You have, let's say you're going to be having 16 topics in term 2 for business studies. And then you have a specific number of days. So that specific number of days divided by the number of topics, then you're going to be able to see how many topics you need to actually cover each day. Now, if you're a person who knows that even if you don't do well for the first number of days, you can pick up the pace and actually cover those amounts of topics, then that's good for you. But if you know that you're a person who's very slow, or you take a lot of time to actually take in the content and to fully understand the content that you're going to be studying, then you need to understand, or you need to be able to actually see how many topics you need to be covering in that specific day, and in your specific study timetable, then you need to state business studies for that specific number of minutes, or minutes that you're gonna be able to cover that specific topic. So I'm not sure if you guys understand what I'm trying to say. So basically what you do is you find out how many number of topics there are in the term, you find out how many days are left before you start writing, and then you find out how many topics can you cover in each day before you start writing. And in each day you then need to go back to your study timetable, and you need to write business studies for a specific number of minutes in which you're actually going to be able to cover that number of topics you should be studying in each day, right? That's a handful, but I hope you guys actually understand. So you can do that when it comes to planning your topics. If it's not a content filled subject, or if it's a subject in which you can basically understand, you get relatively high marks on it. You also need to actually plan how many topics there are gonna be in each term. And then basically, if it comes to, let's say the teacher has already started to teach that specific topic, you need to then, get it out of the way and cover it and study it and know it. So in other words, I mean that when it comes to the number of topics, because teachers can teach like topics in different in a different way. So then you need to actually find out how okay, let me start again. You need to actually find out, or you need to actually make sure of what topics the teacher's going to be covering. So if you know you're a fast learner, as I've said, then you need to be on the same pace as the teacher, because teachers stop teaching before we start writing, or like a few days or a few weeks before we start writing, to push revision in. So that gives you time that if you're on the same pace as the teacher, or you're basically studying, or maybe like one topic behind with what you're actually learning in class, then you know that you'll also have enough time to actually revise the topics come exam time. So that's the way in which you can plan your topics. You need to know how many topics, you need to know the topics. You need, if for example it's term, because I know in term 2 you write mostly we're gonna be writing term 1 and term 2's work in like some subjects. Then when it comes to term 2, you're studying for term 2's paper, you already know the topics that you learned in term 1. So why don't you like tackle those ones first? Or you could tackle the term 2 first, because that's like new content, and then end with the term 1 topics, because you've already studied them for the term 1 paper. So that's like different ways in which you can plan your topics that you're going to be studying. It's very important for you to know the topics. It's very important for you to know the number of topics that you're going to be studying, and all of that. So that's basically on topics. Now let's get to subjects. So subjects is kind of related to the study timetable. It's so most of this in plan is related to your sentence, because study timetable is the one thing that you're going to be requiring to plan. Subjects, simple. You need to basically know the number of subjects you do, of course, and then you need to be planning. You need to differentiate your subjects. Which ones am I good at? Which ones am I lacking in? Then in your study timetable, the ones that you're lacking in, you're gonna be seeing them appearing. They're going to be appearing more than the subjects in which you're actually passing, right? Also, when it comes to content filled subjects, those are subjects that you're going to be requiring a lot of notes, a lot of studying. So I'm going to take out languages, right? So I'm going to be taking out languages. I'm going to be taking out mathematics, maths lit, which are like numbers and stuff like that. So when it comes to your content filled like study subject that you're going to be requiring a lot of notes, those are subjects that you should be prioritizing. I'm not saying don't prioritize maths, but you prioritize getting in, because I'm still gonna be sharing study tips, but I know a lot of kids, they like to do notes before you actually, I'm still going to touch on that, how doing notes before you actually study can affect the way you study. But anyways, so if you're going to be doing subjects with notes, if you're a person who's good at writing notes and you study better when you write notes, so it's better that in your study timetables you have those. So you need to prioritize subjects that you are either not passing in, or you need to, the subjects that are have a lot of content, so you need to cover those ones first. I'm gonna take Monday for an example. Monday, let's say on Monday you're gonna be studying 3 subjects, and in those 3 subjects you're gonna be studying 50 minutes of each, and then you're gonna be having breaks obviously on the between. So I'm still gonna talk about breaks, but then you're gonna be having those subjects. So when it comes to your content filled subjects, you need to tackle them first. So you need to have a balance between the content filled subjects and also your languages and stuff like that, and life orientation. And yeah, so you need to have a balance while slightly doing more of the content filled subjects. Let's say on Monday you're going to be starting with business studies. You're going to be doing business studies, you're going to be doing life science, and then you're going to be doing let's say English, right? So you need to have a balance, but at the same time you need to basically be tackling the subjects in which you know that you're going to be writing a lot of notes in, you're going to be taking on a lot of content. You need to prioritize those subjects. Right. So when it comes to subjects, know the subjects in which you are lacking in, know the subjects that require a lot of content, also know your hot subjects such as your physics, such as your maths. You need to be able to actually prioritize. So in your study timetable, you need to make a way in which you'll be able to have a balance while doing more of the subject that you know that you will require a lot of time for. So that's basically how you can be able to prioritize your subjects. That's basically how you can be able to plan for your subjects. You also apply the same thing when it comes to topics, when it comes to everything else. Now the next thing is going to be talking about the actual study timetable, which is going to be the minutes, how many hours, the breaks and everything like that. So you need to become a person who studies. So if you want an academic comeback, as in you really want to take on 2025 differently, then this is what you need to do. When it comes to planning your study timetable, you need to set your subjects, of course, that I've already talked about, while thinking about the topics, while also thinking about the time that you come home, while thinking about how much time that you have to study, while thinking about how much time you have to study for each subject to cover that specific topic, while thinking about the fact that you're gonna need a break to breathe. Right, so in your study timetable, I'm gonna keep doing an example of doing 3 subjects a day. So when it comes to 3 subjects a day, let's say you come at home at 4 p.m. Or whatever time that you come at home. So you need to know when you come at home, and there needs to be a specific time in which you'll be taking a break, because I know a lot of kids take naps when you come home, which is very, very good. If you have the time and you feel like you're a person who gets tired after school, take a nap. That will be able to refresh your mind and get you ready to actually study. So you take a nap for, let's say, an hour, right? Or you take a nap for 45 minutes, and then the other 15 minutes you're setting up, or you're doing whatever that you need to do, doing homework, or if you want to end with your homework after you've studied, it depends on you. So in that first hour, at least take an hour a break after you've come home from school. And then thereafter, then can your studying commence. So when it comes to studying, you said, for example, you have 3 subjects on Monday, you have 50 minutes in each subject, and you're going to do the first 50 minutes after the hour in which you've come home, meaning you're going to start studying at 7. Right, to come home at 4, and then you're going to start studying at 7, and then from 7 to 7:50 you're going to be studying. It depends on you. If you're a person who likes taking short breaks, I believe in taking short breaks, because short breaks, I feel like they also, when I'm talking about short breaks, I'm not talking about like 10 minutes, because 10 minutes for me personally doesn't really work, because it's like okay, it does work, but I feel like in order for me to be able to actually take a proper break, if I want to take, because I usually take one break in the whole study session, so it's better to take a 30-minute break or 35-minute break. It's going to be good for you, better. Then you're going to be studying from that 7 until 8, and then you're going to take a 1 hour break. That's not being consistent in your studying. So you need to be consistent in your studying. There needs to be some type of consistency that is seen. So if you're going to be studying 4 subjects a day, you're going to start with your 2 subjects, take a break in between, 35-minute break or 30-minute break, and then you're going to be doing the last 2 subjects, and then thereafter you can go to sleep, you can do your homework and go to sleep, whatever little things that you need to do afterwards you study. Or you can basically do your 3 subjects a day, do the first subjects, take a break, do the last 2 subjects. But I would recommend, because when it comes to studying, if you're doing 3 subjects, which is like an odd number, you need to do the first 2 subjects. If it's not going to be like 50 minutes, because 50 minutes, that's like a long time. But if you're going to be able to handle it, then you can do it. But if you're going to be doing like 3 subjects, like an odd number, do the first 2 subjects first. So that's going to be making you willing to actually push, because I know when you study you want to finish, you want to just get it all over and done with. So it's better to do the first 2 subjects first, then take a break, then do the last 1 subject, because after the last 1 subject I'm done studying. That's easier, because then you're going to be doing the first subjects and then taking a break, and then it's going to be harder for you to finish those 2 last subjects, because now it's closer to you ending. So I'd really recommend that. When it comes to your hours, your minutes and stuff like that, I've already talked about that. It's better to take like a 30-minute break when you're studying. It's better to take that 30-minute break. It's also, if you're a person then who's going to be studying like 50 minutes, you can be able to do 50 minutes, 10-minute break, 50 minutes, 10-minute break, and so on and so on and so on. That's also really good. And then you're gonna be pushing a lot of content, because you're gonna be having like a breather in between to actually like breathe, and then you continue, breathe, and then you continue, and then once you've done, you're done. So when it comes to the minutes, when it comes to after school studying, I would really recommend that you do minutes instead of hours, because you can't come back from school and you're studying a subject for 2 hours. You're stuck on that 1 subject for 2 hours. It wouldn't be good for you. So you need to do minutes, and the maximum minutes would be like 45 minutes or 50 minutes of you studying. That's that could be your maximum, because you could do an hour studying when it comes to weekends. But when it comes to after school studying, it's better for you to do minutes than hours, and you have to have less minute break and more minute actually studying. So that's how you actually push content in, and you are able to take in more, and you're able to actually remember, because you're taking in less breaks, because now you're taking in more breaks, you're getting on your phone, you're getting distracted and all of that. So it's good for you to plan study I want to really emphasize the study timetable, because that's one of the best things that you can actually use to study. It is so good. It makes life easier for you. So remember to be able to do your study timetable, how many minutes your breaks, know when you come back from home, know when it's your bedtime, so when to stop. You do your topics, you plan how many topics going to be covering a day, go back to study timetable, do the minutes to actually cover that certain topics. Start with the topics that you know that you're going to be difficult in. When it comes to terms, when you're doing 2 topics in a term, I'd recommend you start with that term's topic, because that's new, that's fresh, and then you end with the last term's topic, because you've already studied them. And if you don't actually, when it comes to exam day, you haven't covered it, you still remembered from the test, the last term's test. So then when it comes to subjects, you prioritize your content filled subjects. You're able to actually you're able to prioritize your content filled subjects. You're able to plan when it comes to harder subjects and stuff like that. Minutes or hours, you recommend minutes when it comes to after school studying, hours on weekend studying, and breaks in between you studying. So that's basically how you're able to plan. Be prepared to put in the extra work. Be prepared to actually do more than you usually do in 2024, because 2025 is the year where you get those full distinctions. Be prepared to do more, be prepared to go online, all of those things. See how people do their past papers and stuff like that. So their study timetables, and then plan your topics, go to your textbook in the first term, look at how many topics, all of those different things. Ask your teacher how many topics you're going to be covering. Ask your teacher, very important thing, how much the weighting is going to be when it comes to assessments. So when it comes to assessments, you need to be able to talk to your teacher about how many assessments you're going to be covering in that term. And basically what is the weighting of because that's very important. So let's say you're going to be doing like a formal test, like an exam, and you're going to be doing a class test. So you need to know the weighting between the class test and the formal test, and so you can know basically what I need to study for more and what I need to put in the extra work for, what I need to pass more to get the more marks. So that's basically all I have to share when it comes to plan. So that's how you plan for your academic comeback in the year 2025. Thing I want to actually share on is now preparing. So when it comes to preparation, I'm talking about you've done your planning, you've looked at your textbooks, you've done your study timetable, you did all of that. So now how do you actually study? When it comes to studying, what do you do? How do you do? When do you do it? How long? And stuff like that. So the first thing I'm going to be sharing is some study tips. So I've heard a lot of children, school kids talking about the fact that they do notes before you actually study. Like when it comes to the term is starting and you're starting to learn the actual work, you go back home, you do the notes, and when the exam time starts, then you start studying or going over the notes. Personally, for me, it sounds weird because now you've not wasted, but like you've spent all this time writing notes. You're just writing, you're not studying, you're just writing, and then you're gonna go back to you. So I feel like it's a waste. So I feel like it's a waste because I've already said when it comes to how can you study when it comes to your minutes, like a study method that you can use is studying for a specific number of minutes, taking a 10-minute or 5-minute break, studying 5-minute or 10-minute break, etc., etc. Another study tip that I can share is talk to yourself. Talking to yourself, talking to the walls, talking to teaching people or recalling, active recall. That's one of the active recall is very, very important. You need to speak because I know, but I feel like this thing, it depends on you. If it depends on your learning style. If you're a person who's, auditory, is kinesthetic, reading and writing, all of those things, it depends on you. But when it comes to one of the best ways I can share for you to study is you being able to actually recall it with your mouth and say it out loud. That's one of the best ways in which you can study, right? So doing notes, I understand doing notes and basically doing that. It also helps for people who are best at reading and writing. But if you know yourself, another thing is very important for you to understand and to find out your learning style. If you know that you're not really the best person when it comes to reading and writing, or you thought you were, but when you do that and you look at the marks, it is not really going the way that you wanted it to go, then I'd recommend for you to change. Because new year, you need to change it up. If you felt like the past year was not really the best, then you need to change it up and you need to see like what difference basically there can be. So recall everything that you've learned, be able to actually speak it, be able to actually record it with your mouth, teach it to someone. Teaching things to someone can really, really help. If you have little brothers and sisters, if you have your parent, talk to your parent, teach your parent without actually seeing the actual material, the work. Talk to them and teach them. Be the teacher and actually teach the work, because the teacher is the person who knows the most when it comes to the content. So if you're able to teach someone, then that shows you're on the right path. So when it comes to a person who does notes, I would recommend for you to do the notes, right? Do the note, but at the same time read over the notes. study the notes like the way you'd study the notes and basically tell yourself. So it's very important to not only study a concept but understand it, because I feel like a lot of people do study the actual thing, but when it comes to the paper, they study like they know the whole textbook, but when it comes to the actual paper, the marks are not really that good because they studied it but they do not understand it. So you need to actually understand, not only just study and take in the content in your brain, but actually understand it. If there's something that you reading, like you're gonna be reading a sentence and you feel like, okay, I can study, as in I can cram this sentence into my head and I can know it, but I don't even know what it means. Because now when it comes to question papers is something that I'm still going to talk about, how they can ask questions in very different ways to the ways that you've studied. So you need to study according to how it's going to be asked. You not only study it, but you understand it. If that means you have to go to Google, you have to research about it, because the more you research about something, like when you're learning about fun facts, the more you know more about it, the more you remember it. So it's very important for you to actively recall. It's very important for you to understand the topic that you're studying, go the extra mile, research it, ask someone about it, do mind maps. So it's very important for you to do those mind maps and do those things where we have little notes at the side telling you the extra facts about it, because the more you know about something, the more you remember. That's another study tip, is that when it comes to a specific topic, for example, in life science, where you're learning about the human body, you're learning about plants, then you can get extra information about it. The more information you know about it, the more you actually understand it. It's very important for you to actually go the extra mile when it comes to subject like content filled subjects. It's very important. So that's basically how you can be able to actually study your work, how you can be able to actually go over it, not only just doing notes and going over the notes, but go the extra mile. Speak to yourself, not only cram. When I say cram, I mean you repeat the same thing over and over. No, 2025 is not about cramming. It's not about repeating the same thing over and over. It's about you changing it up. It's about you saying it in different ways. It's about you understanding it. It's about you being able to actually know the content that you studied and be able to even know it in a different language. That's what we're about in 2025. So another thing that can get you prepared when it comes to your academics is past papers. Past papers are the best. Past papers have helped me in the past. They are really something that you need to be able to get your hands on. You need to be able to get your hands on past papers. Past papers help when it comes to basically each and every subject that you're studying basically in South Africa. Past papers, like past papers, they are so good, because when it comes to basically that, you there are certain subject, or there are certain topics, because I know there are certain teachers that set papers when they look at past papers and they bring questions from different past papers and they put it into the paper. So you need to do past papers, like what you've studied now for the specific term. You've studied all that you need to study, you've written your notes, you've gone over your notes, you've done your mind maps, your notes, not only just notes, but your writing that you've written, all the information, you've poured it out onto that piece of paper, onto that booklet, or onto that book. You've poured it out. You now going to go to the past paper. You're gonna actually work. You're gonna be actually recalling, because past papers really help. They help you to become prepared for the way that they ask questions, especially when it comes to common papers or like department papers. They help you to become prepared. They help you to know that the way that they ask the questions, even you going the extra mile, going to your teacher and being like, sir or ma'am, can I please have the past paper for this subject that you did last year? That can really help. If you know that your teacher is a person who's able to actually give you that, do that. Go to your teacher, ask for that past paper, do it. If you got it back, do another one. If because I feel like when you do past papers, it really helps you to become prepared. It really helps to keep the information intact in your mind. And when you do past papers, rate yourself, mark yourself and see how you did when it comes to the topics that you feel that were not the way you wanted them to be. Then you can go back and you can recap those subjects and stuff like that. So that's a very important. Past papers, you can get past papers online. You can get physical past papers papers at your school. Yeah, so you need to be able to have access on past papers, especially when it comes to the few weeks before the exams, because that's where you're doing past papers. Because few weeks before your exam, you need to be done studying. Like studying in J, you need to be done studying. That's how you can be able to do those past papers. Right. So the next topic that we're gonna be looking at is when prepare is gonna be what do you do before the test. So before the test, I'm talking about the day before the test. 2025 is not the year where you're gonna be starting to study the day before the test. We don't do that in 2025. There's nothing of such. In 2025, you do not do that. In 2025, the day before the test is the day you're taking all your study material, you're reading everything that you felt like, oh, I forgot this sentence, and then you're going back, you're reading, you're recapping it like by mouth, you're taking the whole page and you being able to actually say it in different ways, you're being able to write questions for yourself and answer those questions, you're being able to do those past papers, you're able to actually pray before the test, you're able to actually trust yourself. So before the day before the test is where you go home, like you go home and you take all your study material that you've done throughout the term and you go over it, you look over it, you do that past paper if you want to do a past paper, so you do the last minute stuff when it comes to your practice subjects, your maths, you do. So that's basically, that is what the day before the test is. Or at school, when you're at school, that's where you're supposed to grabbing that paper and you're reading and you're reading and you're reading what you want to read. You're telling yourself in your brain that this was that, yes, this was that, So I don't want you to panic, because the day before the test there's a lot of panic. The day before the test, you're supposed to be chilled. You're supposed to be chilled, you're supposed to be calm, reading whatever you need to be reading, go over whatever you need to be going over, and all of that. So the day before the test or the day of the test, before you actually write, you need to go over your work, you need to ensure that you know everything, you need to actually recap it. And now, what is recap? So now I'm going to go on to recap. So recapping is you being done with studying, because it's very important for you guys to know that you need to be done with studying before you write, like the week or 2 weeks, so that you can grab in, you can push in those past papers and that recap. So recap is you being able to actually recall all that you've studied. You don't cram, but you recall. You don't say it word by word, but you recall, being actually to say it with your mouth. Some prefer writing everything that you've studied, because I feel like when you write everything that you've studied, you're just writing it the same way as it's in the textbook. You need to be able to actually recall it. You need to understand it in different ways. You need to be able to study it to a point where when someone asks you in a totally different way that you've never been asked, you can answer it. So that's you recording, that's you recalling, that's you being able to actually write down what you need to write down, that's you spending the time or spending a specific number of minutes or an hour going over the work with your mouth, saying it to someone, teaching it, because when you're teaching to someone, you're recalling all that you've done. So that's basically how we can do it. Another thing that I wanted to speak before I go on to the last thing is basically you passing, is last minute studying is not it. When it comes to, as I've said, the day before the test, that's when we're recalling, that's where we're actually preparing ourselves, that's where we're reading on the last thing, that's where you're doing those last practices, that's where you're doing this past paper. You're not last minute studying. Last minute studying is not for 2025. 2025 is the year of the academic comeback. The last thing that I want to do or want to focus on is how you pass. We looked at plan, we looked at you preparing. Now it's time for you to pass. So when you pass, you've studied now. The day before the test, how do you ensure that you're actually going to pass? How do you do that? So I'm going to look at 3 main things. I'm going to be taking you through writing the paper, because I took you through planning before you studying. I took you through studying. Now I'm going to take you guys through writing the paper. So the first thing that the front cover of the page, your name, your details, and all of that. That's basically the first thing that you see when it comes to your paper. Open the paper and you see questions, diagrams, questions, stories, whatever subjects it is, numbers, case studies, all of those different things. You see those questions. So when it comes to you ensuring that, okay, I need to pass this paper, the first thing is need to read all the questions. Reading all the questions helps you to remember that, okay, I'm reading this question. I studied. Let me start with it. I'm reading this question. I don't know this. I'll come back to it later. So when it comes to stuff like that, I feel like when it comes to, let's say, things that you've forgotten, it gives you more time. Like those content for subject things that you've forgotten. I studied this, but I don't remember it quite. So I'll come back to it later. So while you're answering the questions that you know, you're thinking up at the back of your mind. You think, how am I going to structure that paragraph that they're asking me to do? You know, if it's history, if it's those subjects, how am I going to structure it? What information I'll put first? What am I going to do? So you answer the questions. Like, I feel like answering the short questions, you know, the really really short yes or no, true or false, match the column, all of those different ones. Answer those ones first. It's very important for you to answer the short questions first. Okay, I just thought of something. So when it comes to answering the short questions first, so I just thought of something that I do, right? When it comes to answering the short questions first, it does help. It depends on you. It does help because let's say you don't finish the paper and you're still doing the very long question, then you're able to get those many marks on the question, so that basically boosts your mark because you did it and you're able to get those many marks on the, you know, the small questions. As on the other hand, when it comes to answering the long questions first, the long questions carry the most marks, because I'm thinking about it. The long questions carry the most marks, but the long questions require a lot of thoughts. So if you're gonna be answering the long questions first and you didn't finish those few, you know, those true or false, those match the column questions, those 1 mark each, then it's possible that you might not get the marks in the long questions because you do not have enough time to think about what you're gonna write. So it's not always ideal to start with the long questions because you might have not thought of how you're gonna structure your answer. It's very important for you to know how you're structuring your answer. You know, it's very important for you to know how to structure your sentence or whatever. Because if you're gonna start with them, then you might have not structured the way that the teacher wanted to be. Excuse me, the teacher wanted it to be, or the examiner wanted it to be. So I feel like it depends on you. If you're a person you know that you can think fast and you can structure it right now, you can get full marks. Do that. But if you know that you want to need time to think about how you're going to structure that paragraph or that essay, then end with it. When I'm saying end with it, then when it's time to end with it, you write fast because you've had all that time to actually think about how you're going to actually write it. Start with the short questions, end with the long questions. When it comes to approaching the paper, start with the thing that you know. As I've said, what you know 100%, that this I know, I studied it, I know it. And then you end with what you're going to actually need to think, because you can't start with something that you don't know because you might answer it wrong. And then, you know, so start what you might know. So when it comes to, you need to study. I feel like when it comes to papers, you need to study the way your teacher sets the papers, so you can know what. So question 1 is usually the multiple choice. Question 1 is usually the match the column. Question 1 is usually match column A with column. You need to like when it comes to your teacher, specific teacher, study the way they set papers. Even if it's subject, because I know subjects can be similar when it comes to like how the paper set. Study the way the paper is set, because when you know the way the paper is set, you can be able to know what's the first thing you see when it comes to the paper, or you can be able to know what's okay, I'm studying this topic and I definitely know this topic is going to be asked in this way. That helps. Another thing is how you answer questions, which I've already kind of, you know, I killed 2 birds with 1 stone. I already kind of answered that, how you can be able to start with your questions, which questions to start with, and all of those things. And when it comes to subjects like maths, where you're gonna be actually doing numbers. I'm not sure how I'm gonna speak about that, but when it comes to maths, you kind of require you start with the same thing, question that you know, like a topic that you know, I'm gonna be able to solve this now, I'm gonna get full marks. You do that. But if you know that I'm gonna actually require a lot of time to think about the method and all of that, you end with that, right? So that's how you can be able to answer the question. And then last thing when it comes to passing is double checking. Is so underrated, but it is so good. It's helped me in the past. I'm gonna be truthful, I do not like to double check papers. When I'm done, I want to sleep. Okay, I don't want to sleep because I don't sleep. But I do not like to double check papers, but double checking is one of the best things that you can do. Double check 5 times if you have to, because that one little mistake can take away a lot of marks. That one little mistake can put you this close to getting 100%. Like, say you wanted to get 100% for that term, but you couldn't because you didn't double check and you made a silly mistake. Silly mistakes are really not that good. So you need to double check, triple check, check 4 times, 5 times, double check. I want to emphasize double checking. It is so good. It is very reliable, very helpful for you. Yeah, that's basically it that I wanted to share. Plan, prepare, and pass. Those are the 3 things that you need to do. I hope you had your notebook, you took down notes. I did some study tips through there and a study timetable, how you can answer the question, all of those things. So now on to the last segment of the video, which is going to be basically me giving you guys some small random tips. So the first thing is going to be asking questions or practice over hard topics at home. Ask your teacher questions. If you don't be afraid of your don't be afraid of your friends and be like, oh, they're gonna laugh at me, this is such a silly questions. At the end of the day, it's your marks. Ask that question no matter how silly it is, because I know teachers, they appreciate students who are able to ask questions in the class. Even you don't understand that completely, go to your teacher. If you're shy, then you can go to your teacher after the subject, after the period, after the lesson, and you ask that question or practice the hard topics. So go over the hard topics when it comes to subject like maths, physics. Go over that topic. If you did not understand it in class, teacher was explaining, you did not understand it, go at home, do it over and over and over again. Another thing is going to be rereading what you learned in class at home. That helps, because let's say you haven't started studying, it's just the first week of school. You're going to be going home, getting that life science textbook, what the teacher was talking about. Just read. When it comes to studying, that's going to be beneficial. Do that. Another thing is, I really want to emphasize the fact of studying from Monday to Friday, because when you study from Monday to Friday, you can have your weekend to relax. That's good. You need some 2 days to relax. You study from Monday to Friday, or if you couldn't study like on Monday, you couldn't study. If you couldn't study, like for example on 2 days of the week, you came home, you were not feeling it, you didn't want to study, you can study on the weekend. But studying from Monday to Friday, knowing that on Monday until Friday I'm studying one way, or if you couldn't study Monday, Tuesday, you study from Wednesday till Sunday, one way. Not one way, but like you said, the specific on your specific timetable, how many subjects you're studying in each day. Have a study book. A study booklets where everything's gonna be kept in one place, because there's nothing more irritating than having all your study material on scrap pieces of paper that are lying everywhere. Even if it's just one exam pad where you're gonna be having everything. Okay, not everything, because it's very important to divide your subject. If you're gonna be having a 2-choir book, then you need to separate everything. This is gonna be for maths, it's gonna be for English, it's gonna be for this and that. So you need to separate every single thing. You need to have, if you want to make booklets with papers, don't have scrap pieces of papers lying everywhere, because that's gonna be, because when you study you need to be organized, because when you organize you get more work done, you're more productive. Make study book and study timetable early. So you need to make that early at the beginning of the term, from day 1, especially when it comes to term 4, term 2, term 4, you're writing like your formal exams. On the first day, it needs to be done. We come back from school, you kind of saw the subject, you kind of saw the teachers, kind of saw the subjects and everything and the topics. Then you come back from school, you do your study book, you write the subjects and everything like that, you do your study timetables, and then you're done. Do your homework is so important, guys. Homework is one of the most important things, because like I feel like homework can have some of the topics that's going to be appearing in your paper, what you're going to be studying. It's very important for you to not skip your homework, but do your homework, so you can be able to actually understand and remember, because remembering is very important. And then, as I've talked about the subjects, start with content subjects when it comes to your studying. Those hard subjects, in the subjects in this term, we're going to be covering a lot of subjects. I'm going to start with it. Stuff like that. And then when it comes to the next point, tackle projects first. So when it comes to projects, they are one of the most irritating things, especially when it comes to studying, especially when it comes to term 4. Term 4 and projects is not really the best thing, but it happens. So you need to tackle all your projects first, get them out of the way so that you can be able to actually study. Because when you tackle the projects first, then you're done. You know that, okay, I'm done. These marks, you need to, when you tackle the projects properly, do your projects properly, and then you can be able to focus on your schoolwork, on your actual schoolwork. But if in that specific term you're only doing the project, do the project. So like you're going to be having the project in that study timetable, and then in that time when it's time to study, you do your projects. So when it comes to projects and tests, do the project first, finish it, and then you have more time to study for the test. Don't procrastinate. Do not, procrastination is not the way. Do, even if you know that you procrastinating with you're procrastinating, you're a lazy person, start with that. Even if it's just one subject, start studying that one subject, a small topics, day by day. You're gonna gain momentum, and you're gonna be continuing every single day until you're at a point where you're rolling with your subject. But do not procrastinate. Whatever, do not procrastinate. Study. When you feel like you don't want to study. Don't procrastinate, don't be lazy, don't go on your phone, study. And then when it comes to, if you're a person who's not really good and you want to make like a proper academic comeback in 2025, your marks are not the best in 2024, start studying early. The term begins, you're already studying. Like, you need to do that. When the term begins, you need to study. You need to be able to start studying at the beginning of the term. And then the next one is work smart, not hard. As I've said, the thing about notes, where you spend hours on end doing notes, don't do that. When you see what's not working for you, don't do it. Stop it right now. Because you're working hard, but you're not working smart. What you can do is read the textbook. You read the textbook, you highlight the textbook tomorrow. You're going over what you're studying on your topic. That's what you need to do. You work smart, you don't work hard. Because sometimes working hard and knowing the whole textbook can result in you actually not getting the marks that you wanted to know, because you crammed all the information into your head, but what did you do? You didn't get the marks that you wanted to get. So that's how you do it. You work smart and not hard. The next thing is you find your best learning style. As I've already talked about learning style, whether you're kinesthetic, whether you're auditory, whether you're visual, all those different learning styles, you use that to study. You find your best learning area, where's your best place where you can be able to actually study, and the best time where you study, at day, at night. You find that and you use that. And then the last thing is you help others and you get help. Don't be afraid to ask questions, don't be afraid to say you're confused. Help other people when they're wanting some information. Be able to help them. If you study best with other people, do study groups. And yeah, that was a handful. So I hope you guys took down some notes on that, and I feel like that's basically all I have to share for now. And I hope you guys have 2025 as a year of the academic comebacks. You get those marks you wanted to get, you get those distinctions, and you make your parents and teachers and yourselves proud. So thank you guys for watching. Yeah, until next time.
I can tell the